And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, everyone. I'm National Weather Service Meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on this Friday, April 18th, 2025. And this outlook is for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And to set things up as of this Friday morning, we still have blizzard to near blizzard conditions along sections of the Arctic coast, especially there up around New Exit, Dead Horse, North Slope. The winds are going to gradually be subsiding up there along with the areas of snow, but this blizzard warning continues well into this Friday evening. By the time we get into Saturday morning, and especially during the day Saturday, though, winds will begin to come down across the Arctic coast, not as strong as what they have been. We still have some areas of lingering light snow over the western portion of the mainland and along the west coast as of this Friday morning. They too will begin to diminish. There's a weak area of low pressure in the Gulf that'll head eastward. That's going to keep showery weather across the Panhandle back along the northern Gulf Coast. And then over the course of the weekend, there's a couple of areas of low pressure that are going to come across the Bering Sea. We're going to have one low crossing the Aleutians Saturday, and all of that's going to send a front and a couple of weaker lows to push some more rain and snow along areas of the southwest coast, Alaska Peninsula, especially here, Kuskokwim, Yukon deltas into Bristol Bay, and not expecting it to be as heavy nor as quite as windy of a system as what we had come through here this past week. But as we get into Saturday afternoon, IFR conditions will be along the Brooks Range, especially the spine there, Adigan, Anatuvik passes. We'll find some pockets of IFR along the central Alaska Range, especially near and above Rainy Pass, Windy Pass toward almost Isabel Pass. Conditions should improve a bit to VFR across the Panhandle by Saturday afternoon, but you can see out over the Bering and up across parts of the central eastern Aleutians, IFR conditions associated with low pressure in a front that'll gradually work its way northeastward toward the southwest coast. By Sunday morning, perhaps some pockets of IFR, the upper Yukon flats. We've had already as of this Friday, there's some areas in the interior that are experiencing lower ceilings and some fog. Not uncommon given the amount of moisture that has fallen in this region. And then back out here across the central and eastern Bering, including St. Paul, eastern Aleutians, we have IFR conditions advancing toward the southwest coast. And for Sunday afternoon, we do expect some rather widespread IFR conditions, YK Delta, especially around Kuskokwim, Bristol Bay, spreading up into the western southwest part of the Gulf around Kodiak Island and then extending westward into the central portion of the Bering Sea, including St. Matthew and St. Paul. So the pass is up there. In the east central Brooks Range, Anatuvik Pass and Adigan Pass may have a brief period of even VFR, but MVFR giving way to IFR conditions as we go through the day Saturday. So Adigan, MVFR becoming IFR. Alaska Range should see at least some improving conditions down there, Lake Clark, Merrill to VFR. As we go north, though, we may see VFR conditions fill and become IFR there at Rainy Pass as well as Windy Pass during the day Saturday. Isabel Pass may just become MVFR, and as we get further east, Mentasta Pass should stay in VFR conditions for the day Saturday. Copper River Basin down to Tanita Pass, generally VFR conditions expected. Same thing at Portage Pass. We expect VFR conditions there on Saturday. And then in the northern portion of the Panhandle, Chilkoot and White starting out MVFR but becoming VFR there as we get into Saturday afternoon and evening. Now looking at the surface freezing line in the early morning, it extends to along the eastern Russian coast, dropping south between St. Matthew, St. Paul, across the northern portion of the Alaska Peninsula and kind of coming up along areas of Cook Inlet and then Prince William Sound on over into the inner northern channels of the Panhandle. There's a little warmer air aloft associated. There are a couple of areas of low pressure going to be out here in through the lower Bering and North Pacific that will be crossing the Aleutians. So as that front lifts gradually northeastward, we find freezing levels aloft rising 4, 6, even 8,000 feet as you get further south into the North Pacific. And along that frontal boundary, where there are areas of precipitation, mainly rain across the Aleutians, but as it comes a little further north into the colder air, there will be either some wet snow or a mix of rain and snow. So we could find some moderate icing in some of those thicker precipitation producing clouds above 4,000 feet here near St. Paul. Above 6,000 feet, where mainly some rain spreading up through the lower Alaska Peninsula. Lingering showers in the Panhandle, central southern areas, could be some icing above 4,000 feet. Isolated icing in areas of the interior, especially where any of those instability, snow showers and or mixed rain snow showers pop up, especially with the daytime heating. And then along the Brooks Range in the southern slopes into the Yukon Flats, there could be some moderate icing in the clouds above 3,000 feet. Upper level jet stream pattern, the trough that was responsible for that strong low during this past week, has pushed off toward the east out over northwest Canada. We have some weak ridging pushing up across the Alaska Peninsula toward the Gulf. Nothing too terribly exciting. This is at 30,000 feet at 700 millibars or 9,000 feet. We find there is not a great circulation, but a weak area of low pressure shearing out there across offshore of the Panhandle. But here you can see a circulation in the North Pacific, another one here over the central Aleutians. That's the feature that's drifting northeastward with the frontal boundary. So some winds aloft at 9,000 feet could be on the order of 35 to 50 knots there out over eastern half of the Aleutians. And then as we go down to 3,000 feet, winds relatively light over the mainland, but back out here across parts of the eastern Aleutians, there may be kind of a southwesterly flow at 35 knots, but compared to the winds that we saw with this last system, this is definitely not quite as intense. Still, though, the potential exists for some moderate turbulence on Saturday as we trail out down through the southern portion of the Alaska Peninsula, say Falls Pass, Cold Bay, and extending out into the eastern Aleutians out toward Unalaska, Nikolsky, all the way almost out there toward Adak. There could be some moderate turbulence with that frontal system moving through surface to 4,000 feet.